All right, just want to do a quick promo here for the next course that I'll be teaching at my school, the John David Ebert School for the Study of Culture, Cosmology, and the Arts. This will be a class on Rudolf Steiner, the philosophy, mythology, and cosmology of Rudolf Steiner, and I have here one of his blackboard drawings. His blackboard drawings are works of art unto themselves. If you've never seen them, you should Google them and pull them up. So we will spend 8 weeks, here he is here, from February 11th through April 1st. Those are 8 Saturdays in a row at noon MST, where for 2 hours we will discuss a different work, a different text written by Rudolf Steiner. He is my all-time favorite German mystic, and as we have been going through the history of German philosophy, beginning with Kant, and we've gone through Kant and Fichte, Hegel, Schelling, Schopenhauer, and now we're in the middle of the Nietzsche class. That finishes up on the 28th of January, and then 2 weeks after that we'll begin Rudolf Steiner. Very often with German philosophy you also have German mystics like Jakob Böhme, let's say, or Paracelsus or Meister Eckhart. So they always produce mystics alongside of their more strict philosophers. Steiner is both, though. He comes out of the German idealist tradition, very definitely, especially his earliest books have that kind of a feel to them. And before he hooked up with the Theosophists and came out of the closet as an out-and-out mystic. These are the texts that we'll be looking at. So this is the curriculum for the course. Introduction for our first meeting, and then we're going to go through his text called Theosophy. This is one of his written texts, and it's a really good introduction to the basic ideas of Rudolf Steiner with respect to the subtle body, the architecture of the four subtle bodies, the physical body, the etheric body, the astral body, and the ego. And this is before he had broken from the Theosophists, which is why it's called Theosophy and not Anthroposophy. Then after that, we'll read How to Know Higher Worlds, where Steiner gives very concrete explanations for different kinds of exercises to develop the imagination and the spiritual faculties within us. Steiner believed that we have higher spiritual faculties that are latent, that every one of us does, that are latent within us, and there are certain skills, certain exercises that can be done to awaken these faculties. Then we'll look at cosmic memory, which is his very wild creation myth. He sort of creates his own mythology for the evolution of the solar system from the within, the spiritual, what took place on the spiritual plane. Very often people with Steiner get confused and think that he's talking about the physical plane. When he's talking about the origins of the solar system, he's normally talking about what happened on the astral plane, on the subtle dimensional realms, not the realms visible to the five senses. And then we'll look at the fifth gospel, which is a series of lectures that he gave as an attempt to sort of give a version of his life of Christ, which is pretty wild, and it's a very neo-Gnostic sort of vision of the incarnation of Christ, the Christ being, which Steiner sees as a being that came down from the sun and took up residence within Jesus of Nazareth at the moment when he was baptized at the age of 30 by John the Baptist, and the descent of the Christ being within Jesus of Nazareth then conferred upon him the powers to perform miracles. So for the next 3 years, as he does his ministry all over Palestine. And then so the fifth gospel is one of my favorite texts of Steiner. His vision of Christianity is quite unique. And then just for the sake of just demonstrating how broad Steiner's grasp was, and in the concrete world as well, with anthroposophical medicine, he has a series of lectures I want to look at on anthroposophical medicine, just because his ideas about the subtle body are so wild. He's got this idea that human beings are upside down plants, for instance. All kinds of wild stuff. And Steiner was a mystic, but he did have concrete effects on the physical world. He founded the Waldorf School. Waldorf schools are immensely popular and successful. And so we have anthroposophical medicine, biodynamic farming, eurythmy, all kinds of things. This man had very concrete effects on the physical world, not just, he wasn't just some head in the clouds mystic. And then we'll look at his last work is Karmic Relationships, which is a long series of lectures. We'll be just looking at certain select lectures to study karmic relationships. Steiner had the ability to read the Akashic record and to go back and find out what the past lives were of some of Europe's famous celebrities and thinkers and philosophers and so forth. Some pretty wonderful stuff in that lecture cycle. And then we'll look at finally his idea of the dawning of the age of the Archangel Michael. Steiner had the idea that the Archangel Michael descended into the Earth's etheric body in the middle of the 19th century, in the 1880s actually, I believe, descended into it and is in process of transubstantiating its materialism. The atheism and materialism are being completely changed by the descent of Michael into the Earth's etheric and astral fields. But Steiner says this is a process, this transubstantiation is a process that will take a long time. So it's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's basically equivalent to Oswald Spengler's idea of the second religiousness, the coming of the second religiousness at the tail end of a dying civilization. Okay, so the price for the class is $350. So that includes the 8 pre-recorded lectures, and then we do 8 2-hour class discussions along with that. If you're only interested, I do have an option to audit the class. If you don't want to attend the discussions, it would be a subscription would be $150, and then I would just send to you each of the pre-recorded lectures each week, and then each of the class discussions as we have them to your Gmail. And of course, I have other classes here that have been finished and are available for $150 each. Transformations of Consciousness Through Time, where we discuss Rudolf Steiner a bit, but as well Sri Aurobindo, Arthur Young, Teilhard de Chardin, Erich Neumann, all of those kinds of guys. And then there's also the history of German idealist philosophy, which, as I have said, was Kant, Fichte, Hegel, Schelling, and Schopenhauer. We went through all of those guys, and right now we're on the philosophy of Friedrich Nietzsche. We're in the middle of it right now. It doesn't end until January 28th, but you can still subscribe to it and have the lectures mailed to your Gmail. Professor David Getson right now is in the middle of teaching a course on Rome. Where are we? On Oswald Spengler's timeline, where he predicts that the disintegration of the Roman Republic and the rise of the empire, something very similar is happening to the West. Right around the year 2000 was his prediction. So David Getson is an extremely erudite and knowledgeable professor and an architect. And he will go through, he has been going through, we're halfway through that class now, the gradual fall of the Roman Republic, the civil wars, the battles between Marius and Sulla, the first triumvirate with Pompey, Crassus, and Caesar, and the second triumvirate. So he's going through all of that. So these are each $150 if you want to subscribe to these ones that are either done or are in process right now. And okay, so that's it for right now. If you have any interest, by the way, in purchasing any of these courses, don't purchase them on here. Hit me up at johndavidebert@gmail.com, and then I can send you all the lectures that way through Gmail, because I don't have all the class discussions uploaded on here yet. It's a very time-consuming and tedious process. It's easier just to send them directly to your Gmail. All right, that's it. I hope to see you in class. February 11th, we're going to have a blast going through the ideas of the great German mystic Rudolf Steiner. Join us.